The science, trademark, finally discovered something we've known about for at least a few centuries. Well, I'm glad academia finally caught up with reality, at least in one aspect. Men who like meat, not gay men, men who like eating meat, men who like big meaty sausages in their mouth, not the way you're thinking of, are more likely to bag a date because women see them as more masculine than vegetarians, study finds. Well, that's because they generally are. Like on rare occasions, you get a masculine looking vegetarian, but they're not very common. Whether it's Tinder or Hinge or or Grinder, anyone with an online dating account will know that choosing the perfect pictures and words for a profile is tricky business. From a candid photo to funny jokes, it can be difficult to know what will help you bag the likes in a sea of profiles. Well, no matter what you do, the Waymans will just keep swiping anyway. Unless you have a dog in your profile, I guess. And according to research from the University of Warsaw, dude, Poland of all places had to be the ones to discover this. All right. The word vegetarian will immediately put off potential dates. Try vegan. That's like vegetarian squared. In a new study, the team found being a vegetarian makes both women and men less attractive as potential partners. You're not allowed to say that, but everyone thinks it. It's one of those things. And male vegetarians are also viewed as less masculine, according to researchers. It's not so much that they're viewed that way, it's because they are that way. Again, as a whole. Because every time I make a generalization like that, like someone will find one wimpy ass meat eater and one slightly more masculine vegetarian. See, you're wrong, RGE. Okay. Do you understand how bell curves work? I'm talking in general here. Women who reject traditional masculinity based on strength and dominance may perceive male vegetarians differently than those who embrace traditional masculinity. They said, no, women who claim to reject traditional masculinity are lying. Every single one of these feminazis I've ever seen, they immediately start to get soaking wet when Chatter Tyrone gives them attention. It's all just empty words and virtue signaling. So this in turn may explain why some women's a vegetarian man is not a real man. Yeah, I have my own opinion on this whole real man thing. So if you guys aren't aware, the actual definition of a real man is a man who would do anything the person making this accusation wants them to do. That's a real man, because it's always like a real man would do what I want. Like you could really just boil it down to that. So unless you're a doormat that does what those around you demand you do, you're not a real man, apparently. Who'd have guessed? Several previous studies have set out to understand the desire to date certain people. Now, when are you going to realize, though, that you can't change people's preferences? As I've said millions of times, you don't get to decide what other people find attractive. That was ultimately what killed a lot of these movements. When they started thinking they could dictate to people what they're going to find attractive. No, you don't get to do that. How about you fuck off with that bullshit? However, until now, there is little research into whether or not diet plays a role in romantic attraction. The study examined how dissimilarly in the context of diet, eating or not eating meat, affects romantic attraction and thus the desire to date people on a different diet. The team wrote of their study published in the Social Psychological Bulletin. I guess the risk would be if you're trying to date a vegan or a vegetarian, you got to make sure they're not the kind that'll try to force their views on you. Although they all say they won't be, and then they do it anyway. The team enlisted 404, not found, participants aged 18 to 82 who were asked to imagine they were using a dating app to look for a partner. Each participant was randomly shown one of four types of profile. This included a person who was a vegetarian for ethical reasons, one who was a vegetarian for environmental reasons. Yeah, definitely skip that one. The ethical one, maybe, but the eco-terrorist, skip. A person who is a vegetarian for health reasons. Okay, if it's health reasons, you get a pass as well. Or a person without any information about their diet. After viewing each profile, participants were asked about their general attitude towards the person and how they were willing they be to date them and how masculine and feminine they thought they were. The results revealed that vegetarians seem to be less attractive as potential dating partners. Yeah, once again, the only ones that, like, the only excuse I would really accept is it's medical reasons. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not going to hold people's medical issues against them unless they're made up medical issues that they're just using as an excuse. Compared to vegetarian targets, targets with no diet information were seen as the most positive in general, more masculine as well as more feminine, and thus more suitable to enter a relationship with. Breaking the results down further, researchers found key differences in the perception of vegetarians for different reasons. I mean, that's why they did that, right? I mean, I hope they would find something. The general pattern was that the control targets evaluated most positively and the vegetarian for health reasons least positively. Oh, I guess maybe they figured the one for health reasons. I don't want to date someone with health issues. Oh, okay. I guess I can see that. While participants are not asked for their reasoning, the researchers suggest that it comes down to wanting to date like-minded people. Which, by the way, nothing wrong with that. This is someone you want to spend your life with, right? Of course, hopefully, that's at least someone you can get along with. And since only meat eaters participated in the study, one explanation of their present finding was that people want to enter relationships with people who are on a similar diet to them. Yeah, and then as a meat eater, there's also the danger that, if I get with this vegetarian or vegan, what are the odds that they're going to try to push it onto me? That would just be way too annoying. I don't want to deal with it. So that also most likely plays a role. Now, this is consistent with previous research that found that vegetarians prefer to be in romantic relationships with other vegetarians. Well, okay, so why is this a surprise then? People stick to their own. All right, you literally discovered tribalism, like tens of thousands of years after tribes formed. Congratulations, academia. You're maybe in a few more millennia you might catch up. Oh, yeah, arguing over future diet of the kids. Yeah, no, that's actually another reason why mixed religion couples don't work very often. Because, there's going to be a lot of arguing about what to indoctrinate the kids into. That's something you need to consider before you have kids. The preference for relationships with people who do not mention their diet versus vegetarians can be explained by the fact when it comes to romantic relationships, people feel attracted to those who are similar to them. All right. Give this guy a Nobel Prize. We never would have figured this out otherwise. And thus, meat eaters may believe that vegetarians simply have different values than they do, and those who do not mention their diets might be assumed to be meat eaters as a default option. Well, it's not even just a default option, but that's why they have that joke, right? Like, how can you tell someone's a vegan? That they tell you. There's a reason that stereotype exists. Unless they're doing it specifically to troll vegans, you generally don't see meat eaters running around getting in people's faces about how they eat meat. Vegans, on the other hand, your first interaction with them, they're mentioning something about being a vegan. They can't help themselves. Now, researchers hope the findings will spark further research on the perception of vegetarians. Okay. Efforts to understand vegetarian stereotype and its connection to masculinity may contribute better understanding of why men are less willing to become vegetarian, they concluded. Look, I'm going to tell you the answer, okay? Masculine men pretend to become a vegetarian when they're trying to get in the pants of a vegetarian/vegan woman. And then once they get what they want out of her and they discard her, they go back to eating meat, at least openly. They never actually give it up. They just don't do it in front of you. Are you happy now that you have your answer? You're not going to get that answer from doing these studies. None of them are going to admit to doing that. But that's what's happening. Not all cases, but a large enough chunk.